Hi, everybody. Ian Bremmer here, and a quick take to kick off your week. I often talk about the importance of authenticity, of being honest about analysis, admitting when you get things wrong, not selling political preferences. Who cares what my opinion is about what I prefer? People care and follow because I tell you what I think is actually happening, what's likely to happen, and why. And that's particularly important, I think, in this environment of greater polarization and fake news and disinformation. It's not useful if you're just following people that you already agree with, because all they're doing is confirming your priors, telling you things that you already believe and know to be true. It's also important, though, to talk about things that you think are important and not shy away from being honest, even when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. And today is one of those days. I noticed with a lot of concern and, frankly, some outrage that Jen Easterly, the director of the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, most recently, has had a job offer that she accepted from West Point, rescinded by the Trump administration. Now, I've known Jen very well for a long time, and she is legitimately one of the most patriotic human beings I have ever encountered. She served with distinction. She has never been a member of a political party. She's never expressed a partisan preference for one party or the other as long as I've known her. And she does her job. And her job at CISA was to ensure that American elections are free and secure from internal and external efforts to undermine them. Most notably cyber attacks and other forms of fraud that could damage this foundational piece of American democracy and rule of law, which is the ability to ensure a legitimate transfer of power from one election to the next. She did that. She did that very effectively. I even interviewed her on my show afterwards around the 2020 election. Which, of course, was deeply politicized in terms of what people thought about the outcomes. But thankfully, like in all other advanced industrial democracies, the election itself actually went off without a hitch. There was no fraud. There were no effective cyber attacks that could undermine them. You were able to get everyone to their places of ballot. You were able to have those votes cast without interference and counted without interference. And that's the way a democracy is supposed to work. Laura Loomer, who is a far right-wing activist online and also someone that traffics proactively in the worst kind of conspiracy theories and has had a lot of access to President Trump over the past months and has gone after a bunch of people that she doesn't like and thinks are disloyal for various reasons or political affiliations, has had a number of people fired. Most recently decided to attack Jen Easterly. Why? What did she do wrong? Because she said under oath that the 2020 election was free, fair, and secure, as it, of course, was. But that's unacceptable in this administration. And as a consequence, Jen, who had gone to West Point, and had spent the last months putting together a curriculum for America's best and brightest, to give them an opportunity to learn from her what leadership and accountability mean. I've always been very proud of America's military institutions. These are organizations that truly instill values in our young men and women that are foundational for the United States. Anyone that read that book, I think, was absolutely American, written about 15, 20 years ago about West Point, and you see what these young cadets go through, and it makes you feel proud. These are institutions that have not in any way been damaged or undermined, despite so much corruption and kleptocracy in the United States political system as a whole. So many areas where we feel like we don't like or trust our leaders, but that is absolutely not true of American military academies. And it's helped to ensure the professionalism and the patriotism of America's military and its leadership, its officer corps. And here was someone who was going to devote the next step of her career and her life to public service in the most extraordinary fashion, to take her experience and background and to give it to those that are going to be leading America's military going forward. And that those students, those cadets will no longer have that opportunity. And they won't have the opportunity because it has been taken away from them by a woman that has no idea what Jen stands for and has decided to attack her in a disgraceful way. And the Trump administration has decided to let her go. And this is not what I stand for. This is not the country that I stand for. I believe that it is still patriotic to criticize your country when it makes a mistake. And what we now see are increasingly values that the U.S. has said historically that it stands for, not living up to that. I'm talking about Jen because I have personal experience with her, and I think it would be an outrage for me not to say something publicly, and I hope more people will. But I could as easily say this about someone I don't know, have never met, which is the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, Erica McIntyre, who was fired directly by President Trump because he didn't like the job numbers that came out last week. And, these are things that I, as a comparative political scientist historically, I'm used to seeing in other countries that aren't mine. I remember when Erdogan got rid of his head of data statistics because he didn't like it and put in somebody that was loyal to him, that was going to put, forward data that he would like. I see this kind of thing happening in Latin American countries where, political appointees are a de rigueur in places that it clearly undermines the ability of the country to better represent its people. Areas around the global south. But we don't see it in any advanced industrial democracies except the United States. The fact that the Attorney General today, Pam Bondi, that it's inconceivable that she would launch an investigation against President Trump or someone that was loyal to President Trump, and he didn't want that investigation launched, which is absolutely a subversion of what the Attorney General is supposed to do, what the Department of Justice is supposed to do. It has become weaponized, and it has been weaponized in the past, but it's getting worse. It's getting more structural. And these are things we have to talk about. And we don't talk about them because the president is always wrong, because Trump does nothing right, that he's not successful. Anyone that watches me knows that I am delighted when I have the opportunity to say that Trump has done something successful, not only because he's my president, but because I'd rather see success. But this is not up to me. It's not up to me. It's up to him. It's up to him whether or not he's going to be successful. And in this case with Jen Easterly, clearly he has decided to abdicate responsibility for something really essential, which is the well-being of the students, some of the top students in the country, the most patriotic students in the country that are most oriented towards service, and saying, no, doesn't matter. I'm just going to go with my political inclinations. I'm sad for them. I'm sad for Jen. And I hope a lot more people will have a chance to hear about this if you pass it along. So that's it for me today. That's what I want to talk about, and I'll talk to y'all real soon.